Thank you so much. So my name is Lystrup and I'm CEO of Vidde Mobility. And I'm here together with Josefina.
Yeah, Josefina Sallén. I'm from RISE, from Sustainable Business. So I work with circular business models and how companies make money on looking after resources instead of wasting them, basically.
And we are working very closely together in developing this. And it's because we have been up in the north looking at how snowmobiles are experienced today. And if you ride a snowmobile, a fossil-driven snowmobile of today, you need special clothing because you smell from exhausts. You will have, you need to turn it off in order to hear the nature around you. And it's not a very environmentally friendly vehicle at all. And for that reason, we found out we need to do something about this. This is one of the vehicles that needs to go into a transition. Let's try to make that happen. And when we started this, we said, okay, a sustainable electric snowmobile needs to be the goal. And it has really been a blast because, as you see over at this end, it's a small company, but we are really pulling some attention. So Josefina from RISE here now, they are experts in several fields that we are working with right now in order to help us make this happen. Kraft is working with us on charging infrastructure and stuff like that. Pininfarina, which is like one of the world's most known design agencies from Italy in the car industry, maybe the most experienced of them all, is taking us on as the most interesting case for them in order to make a circular vehicle from scratch. So we are like honored to have them take us on board. And we have also like orders and the partners in terms of SkiStar that will help us out with all the testings. We have the Ice Hotel which will do the same. So you see, we're pulling some weight here, and this is a company that is like 1.5 years old. It's really, really moving forward. So we would like to talk a bit about this to show you how what is happening. And this is really what's happening when you're starting a company aiming for Agenda 2030 from start. That is what's really pulling some weight here. So what's the problem then? A problem with a snowmobile, to make it a bit more tangible, one ride with one snowmobile lets out 20 kilos of CO2, and that is the equivalent of 40 water bottles, so like a couple of backar in Swedish. And how many snowmobiles are there on Earth? Well, 2 million, and that is like Wembley Stadium. If you have 22 Wembley Stadiums, that's the amount of snowmobiles that are around, and every tour lets out this. That is to give you a scope of what's the problem really. It's quite big. It's nothing that you really think of every day about the snowmobile. You think it's a small thing, but it's quite a big number. So if we want to reach our goals, then we have to replace the fossil-driven snowmobile. That's the whole idea here. So the case looking at Vidde is to really take it backwards. We say, that is the problem, how can we solve it? So we have been working a lot with, primarily with RISE and other experts in order to like figure out what is it that we need to do. Coming out of all of this, we see that Vidde, we are creating a Nordic sustainable electric snowmobile for the global market. That would be the relevant thing here to do. The 4 characteristics of this one would be then to say, we need a born electric vehicle for the drivability of it. If we convert stuff, it will not be as good and easier to produce as having it electric from start, so we need to go all the way. We will focus on reducing the noise of this for the maximum driver experience. That will be a big game changer for people. We will build the software services straight into the vehicle type, which has not been done on a snowmobile before. So we do it with shared mobility and all of the things that we have been talking about today. And I know you would like to...
Yeah, I mean, you can say it, but a key thing here is also the life cycle, how long this will last. I think that's quite cool that the ambition then is not just to say, okay, it's going to be electric, but when we talk about an electric or a circular snowmobile, that means in this case that we want it to last as long as possible. And here we've set up, and that's what you talk about in the meeting, so it's not something that's just in there. That's what we do when we designed it now. So we designed it to last 7 times longer than the average snowmobile today. And the average snowmobile is quite a lot wear and tear product. And here we take it totally to the other end of it, which we think is quite interesting. And that's not only what, I mean, that's what you do in all the design work, both with Pininfarina and with technical design and so on. So when we talk about circularity, it's longevity that is the key thing in this case.
Exactly. And what happens when we start from the other end? So a small company like this, we are getting huge amounts of attention because we are doing it that way. So like SVT making reportage about this. We are in Dagens Industri. We have the snowmobiles that are SkiStar coming together with us. And like Pininfarina, this old fantastic design house, they are exposing us to their global market because this is like a super cool case. And why is it a super cool case? It's not that we have found something that is super unique. It's because we do it the Swedish way. We take the forefront that we have in Sweden. That is not what they see in other places. So we are taking the forefront here. When we lift it to Italy, we are years ahead, meaning that they say that, wow, this is like working with the future. It's super interesting for us. And that has made a possibility for us to really start working with some of those guys. So I really want to show you that small company, big attention. That is really what's happening. So our philosophy is to make something that is very cool from start. And the reason for doing that is that we say environmentally friendly needs to come as a second argument in order to hit the market running. So some people will buy it because it's the greenest snowmobile in the world, but other people will buy it because it's the coolest one. So this was Frank. This is our prototype. He's Frank because he gives us Frank numbers, and he's also Frankenstein. He's not that beautiful, but he's a lot of test results coming out of him. So the thing about it is that we put in 280 horsepower, and it's a 250 kilo machine. So it's like a true beast, meaning that the most experienced snowmobile riders are really saying this is a machine that we have never seen before. We electrify it, we go a bit extreme, and then we can kill some of the arguments saying that electrifying and make it environmentally friendly is not cool. Well, at least we go faster than everybody else. So that is like our way to address this. We're here to talk about the headline, which is Start a Company with Sustainable Production in Focus. So that is a bit, so we are very honored to be here because this is like a true production forum. We are trying to solve a problem, and we need to have production specialists on board in different versions. So being here and having you guys talk, listening to this is very interesting. Let's see what's coming out of that later on. there's a three-step process to do this. We identify the circular business model. We design the circular product. Oops, in that order, not the other way around. Not the product first, it's the circular business model first. Then we design the circular product, and then we set up a scalable production. And the scalable production is there because we need to be able to scale this fast in order to make an environmental difference. Otherwise, there's no use. If we only make 50 of these, they will not make any proper difference. So first out then, identify a circular business. And Josefina, could you talk a bit about that?
Yes, I can talk a bit about this. So usually when we design something, we design something to sell it, and then it reduces in value rather quickly. So if this is the residual value of something, and this is the time or the distance that you drive it, if it's something that's rolling or moving, then you see that quite quick. We're quite used to that with cars or whatever, that the residual value, it goes down quite quickly. And in a circular business model, what you want to do is that you want to be able to use the product, as I said, much, much longer, because that creates opportunities to earn money. Because here, then, if you can continue to do different things, unlock software, or you replace the parts, or you do different types of upgrades, you can keep the value up. You can even, in certain cases, you can increase the value over time of products, depending on how you design them. But then you have to take the design into account from the start. It's very difficult to try to do this with products that are not designed for it. And then you can create this value, this gray area, instead of only this value. And this is what we're after. We want this product to be able to deliver value and profit, both for the customer and for Vidde over this long time instead. So really, the longer it lasts, the more money the company can earn. And the better it is for the environment, because we don't have to produce as many. We can use the same over time, and we still deliver the same value to the customer. So that's kind of the key thing. You produce it one time, you sell it several times, in short. But that also means that it puts other strains on the production system, because it's not only scalable, it has to be made so that it doesn't mean that it's made out of reused products only. It can be, but that's not the key thing. Here it is that we can take back parts, we can take back the entire product to upgrade it, or we can maybe upgrade it on site somewhere. We have to produce in a totally different way than if this were 7 linear snowmobiles over time. So that puts totally different demands and constraints on the manufacturing system as well. So.
Exactly, and so a basic, from an environmental point of view, so the circular electric machine, from a very basic calculation, we are down at like 70 grams of CO2 per kilometer, where a normal snowmobile, fossil-driven, will be 7 times that at 550 somewhere. And that is like not put into an extreme. So this will be probably over 10, 20 times more environmentally friendly than a normal snowmobile, looking at the life cycle. I was thinking maybe you should take this one as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, I can do that. So obviously the design then is a key. I think that's clear as well. And how do you design a product to make it, we call it often future adaptive. And then you have to look at 4 aspects of that. You have to look at what makes a product obsolete. Is it the functionality? So can you use it in different types of functionality, or does it suddenly not work in the space where it is any longer? Or are there no snow any longer? Then it doesn't work anymore. So that's functionality. Technical, it's that it works in technical aspects, so it doesn't break down, but also it can be that there are new upgrades and other things that come on that you're not prepared for, and then then it doesn't work for that aspect. Then aesthetically, it has to be attractive over time, and don't feel that it's kind of becoming old in that sense, or worn for that matter. And it's also socially, it has to do with laws and regulations and different types of norms that can do that we change our way of looking at things, and then they become obsolete. So you address those 4 different areas. And on top of that, then we look at also that to create this, what you do is then to do it modular. Both modular for different types of use cases and modular for different types of over time and changes over time. So that means so it can be upgradable and also serviceable. And the specification for Vidde is that you should be able to change something with one tool and in 20 minutes by yourself for the majority of the different parts. So it should be more complex than that. And then when we look at the design for the production, we work with these 5 separate component clusters. So we have, and then we already from the start plan for the disassembly or the reuse. And it's based on these 4 different clusters then. So we have the chassis, we have the drive, we have the front, we have the control part, and we have the power. So those are the 5 areas that are then quite put together, and they're treated as their own units. And they also have to be then future adaptive. Yeah, so.
Exactly, and so what we are doing now is that we are identifying the right partners for producing those clusters. So we are like a cluster owner on the production side. They will handle everything within that cluster together with other producers, of course. But we can only handle so many interfaces. So we would like to have that kind of production, get 5 parts to our assembly line, and then we put those 5 parts together to deliver the vehicle. That is the whole idea. That is our way of scaling. Instead of a small company finding 300 million to build this big factory, which will take a lot of years, and then we're locked into that, we do this in a flexible, dynamic way, which sets new requirements, of course, on all the production capabilities. So where are we then? You start off with a concept, you go into knowledge phase. That's where we are. We have left that one quite recently. So Frank is done. He has made his tests. We will probably see him a bit more in media, I guess. But anyways, and now we are going for the pre-series phase. We're producing 5 vehicles, and those 5 vehicles will go for testing together with Skistar, Ice Hotel, Skellefteå Kraft, and those guys during next winter. So we're properly testing them, hard testing them together, tweaking them after all the learnings there. Some development will run on the parallel. Then we go into a smaller serial production, which will be 1,000 units, and then we go for a scale-up. The circular business then, that includes, this is what we're working with, the whole wheel. So we're working with the production, we're working with the distribution, we're working with the upgrade service, aftermarket parts, take back, to get components back from vehicles that has been out in the field. And last one, the Vidde. This is where we take components that has been out, put them together in a new vehicle and send them out again, which would be a salesman's dream, to sell the same vehicle many, many times. But it's also very good for the environment. So how we set up a scalable production in theory, that would be to have the 5 different cluster owners, as we talked about before. Those guys will be here. They deliver in to assembly hubs. And assembly hubs will naturally be Nordics, the Alps, North America. That would be like low-hanging fruits. Then the machines go out to through the Vidde customers, and then we also build up the return hubs. And this is a bit new. So we build the return hubs. We will have them localized where they need to be, of course. They could be localized together or separate. And then the components come in here and they go back. They be disassembled and they go for recycling or they go for reuse and go back into the new assembly. So that is the flow that we're looking at. And if we succeed with this, the big gain would be this. If we manage to create 10,000 vehicles per year until 2024, which would be 8% of the world market, something like that, means that we have saved the equivalent weight of one big male polar bear times the same amount here. Wembley Stadium times 22. So it's a huge amount of CO2 that we can save if we make this happen. But we need to make it this way around. We start with what is the goal? The goal is to work with Agenda 2030 and reach those goals. And then we put the production and the design behind. So that is really how we're working. And I'm just opening up because there's many very competent people in this room that can be probably helping out with stuff in this process. I'm just opening up and saying, yeah, you know where to reach us and just come up and talk to us. There's probably stuff that is interesting to co-create on in this process. It's not a one-man show. Okay.
Yep. That's
Good.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.